than a year of war has bled Israel's economy, weakening growth, spurring inflation, and choking exports and tourism.
So this path, it used to be with kids playing, running around, families that is coming to visit us from all over the country and the world. And unfortunately the farm at the moment is closed for visitors. So if you're asking me about if the war affect the numbers, of course, from 100% to zero.
Small businesses, which make up the bulk of the nation's economy, are often most vulnerable to shocks. Nowhere is this more visible than in northern Israel, where many communities and the businesses which are a part of them have been empty for 14 months.
Some businesses were in areas that are completely evacuated, but I think it was even worse for the businesses that are still open, but they have no clients or they have no employees because they've been drafted to the reserves or the clients have been evacuated.
For many small firms, the uncertainties of war and an inability to plan even a single month ahead are the crippling factor, causing economic, societal, and psychological knock-on effects, especially for family businesses.
It affects the whole family. Then it affects the employees. And if you're a restaurant, for example, if you're not working, you don't buy the vegetables and the fruit. The ripple effect of a business stopping or slowing down is huge.
The loss of tourism, both domestic and international, is one of the deepest cuts to the North's coffers. With its natural beauty, open spaces, and diverse culture and cuisine, tourism is a cornerstone of northern Israel's economy. In the Galilee alone, 40% of the population are sustained by tourist activities.
There was no tourists whatsoever. Usually this is a big tourist spot, both of course in the high seasons, but also just throughout the year. And there were no tourists whatsoever, certainly none from overseas. And even Israelis were extremely hesitant to come up to the north, where we were getting bombarded pretty much, I wouldn't say every single day, but very often.
Airbnbs, wineries, tour guides, restaurants and cafes, all are affected. From previous rounds of conflicts and COVID, Israelis have learned that often the tourism industry is the first to close and the last to reopen. But unlike with the pandemic, which saw alcohol sales increase, few economic silver linings are presenting themselves to businesses during the war. Businesses that have stayed open in northern Israel have mostly been those able to cater to soldiers passing through or killing time. Fast food spots, tobacco shops, and gas stations.
Well, I mean, they made up for it, but it's a different clientele. So whereas a group of tourists or families would come and, sit down and have a meal, soldiers are very much, for the most part, coffee and a cake and hit the road.
It's noticeable that many of the concerns of businesses back in October at the height of the fighting in the north.
So this is the bistro. This is a chef restaurant that we have in the farm. They making farm to table from the products of the farm into the table, and as you can see, this amazing place that's serving hundreds of customers every normal day, especially now in Chol HaMoed of Sukkot that you came to visit, it's closed. And like all this big balcony that we have watching the view, unfortunately, there is no one to enjoy it.
Are the same hardships being faced by entrepreneurs today, weeks after Hezbollah's defeat by the Israeli military? Residents of the north traveling home are often doing so to briefly check on their properties, not to return to live and to reopen closed businesses.
I can tell you that we see a lot of those families who have been displaced to other towns, and they're very nervous. They're very nervous about what the status of their house is, what the quality, what the state of their communities are. They would like to come home, but they're very nervous about it right now.
Measures are being taken to mitigate against the war's impact, such as efforts by Western Galilee now to create care packages for displaced residents, utilizing resources from the Jewish National Fund USA containing products from local businesses, and the recently announced measure by the Israeli Ministry of Tourism to invest over $18 million into upgrading infrastructure in the north. But business representatives know what they think is needed.
get into the car. It's only an hour and a half from Tel Aviv, and you're in a part of the country that is been waiting for 14 months because we've been stuck in October 2023. Things haven't changed until they actually worsened in the past few months before the ceasefire. And I think if you're talking about small businesses, the main thing they need is to meet other people. It's not only the economy, it's something much more emotional. So come visit us.